Yeah, even I thought life was boring, stuck on the sidelines just observing, till I heard the piranhas in my heart roaring, gave my soul a brand new purpose for exploring. They brought me from the coast into the glory, every single chapter telling my own story. No more scrolling through the static of the algorithms pull. Beam me up! Beam me up from the noise and the bright screens. Beam me up to the source of all my Vedic dreams, finding my resonance aligning with my dharma. Yeah!
Beam me up. Mind matters through Purāṇas and Itihāsās. Namaste, dear viewers. Welcome back to Beam Me Up, where ancient wisdom meets our everyday struggles. Last time, Damodara Priya showed us how humility destroys the cage that is called ego. But today, let me ask you something. Have you ever had days where your mind just refuses to cooperate? Everything feels foggy, confusing, emotionally messy. Your mind becomes like overcrowded beehive, buzzing with doubts that just won't leave. You search, you read, you Google, maybe even scream into your pillow. But the answers? Nowhere. And slowly, your peace disappears, your confidence fades, and you stop feeling like yourself. So here's the real question. How do we deal with this restless mind and find stability?
Now that's a real question. But first let's correct one thing. This phase is not a problem. It's a process. In fact, it's a good sign because only a hungry person will want to look for food, right? Similarly, only a mind that feels restless will begin to search for the truth. If we never had doubts, we would never drift through like, what is this, what is that? We would never be curious for that matter. You would call everything fate. Well, quietly we'll be living in confusion actually. So doubts are not exactly our enemies, but they are signals, invitations and catalysts. They push us from ignorance to understanding. But then comes the real question. How do we actually resolve them? Because if it were to be so easy, we would all probably be enlightened by now, maybe while eating pizza. So to answer this, our Puranas don't just give us a lecture, but they give stories. And one such story is not just a story. It is a map of the human mind. A cosmic ocean, a massive churning, devas and asuras pulling in opposite directions. Remember something?
Yeah.
Struggle, chaos, and poison. And finally, the nectar. Because just like the ocean, our mind must be churned. Only then can we separate confusion from clarity, noise, like you said, beehive, from wisdom, and poison from nectar.
Yeah. So the chaos is not the problem then?
Exactly. That's not the problem. The chaos is just the beginning. Because only if we are willing to churn our mind do we discover the amrita, the nectar of inner peace.
Oh.
It's like the peace after the storm. Yeah. So like that's just how it is.
The lull before the storm.
Yes. Yep. Now, let's begin with the great tale of Samudra Manthana. Before the great churning began, there was a fall, not of the demons, but of the devas themselves. But how? Once, the great sage Durvasa gifted Indra a divine garland, the very symbol of Shri. It was a symbol of grace, prosperity, and divine favor. But Indra, distracted, careless, placed it on his elephant Airavata. Now, this elephant Airavata threw it down on the ground and trampled it under its feet. And in that one moment, respect was lost, grace was lost, she left. Basically, everything was lost. And Durvasa's eyes blazed. You have insulted divine grace itself. Let your strength, your brilliance, your fortune, your prosperity vanish. And just like that, the devas lost their power, their radiance faded, their confidence shattered. Their dominance was actually gone. And the asuras, like I said, they rose. And so the weakened and desperate, the Devas approached Lord Vishnu. He did not say fight harder, but what did he say instead? He said, churn the ocean with the help of the Asuras. The vast cosmic ocean, Ksheerasagara, stood silent as the Devas and Asuras' enemies came together to churn for one purpose.
That is really surprising indeed.
The Mandara mountain became the churning rod, and Vasuki, the serpent king, became the rope.
Wow.
They pulled back and forth with effort, strain, and determination. But suddenly, the mountain began to sink. At that moment, as you all know, Lord Vishnu took the form of a gigantic tortoise, Kurma. He went beneath the ocean and held the mountain steady on his back.
Became the anchor.
Yes, like you said, he is the anchor of silent support for both Devas and Asuras' unseen strength here. And now, the churning truly began. After multiple days of continuous churning with effort, from the depths emerged Surabhi, the divine cow. Surabhi, as we all know, is also popularly known as Kamadhenu. Surabhi and Kamadhenu are same. The giver of nourishment and the embodiment of abundance. Second emerged Varuni, the goddess of wine. She is the symbol of pleasure, indulgence, and attraction. Third is the Parijata, or most popularly known as the Kalpavriksha.
Oh, this is the same. Okay, got it.
Yes. Then came, like I said, it's a wish-fulfilling tree, and it could grant any desire that you want. Fourth emerged the Apsaras. Not one, not two, but 60 crore Apsaras.
Wow. Humongous number.
Yeah, and as we all know, these countless Apsaras, they were like beauty itself took form.
Okay.
They were radiant, enchanting, and irresistible. Fifth was Chandra, the moon. And as soon as the moon rose, it brought peace to the cosmos. It symbolized cool, soothing, and calming. It was very cool, soothing, and calming. And you might ask that the creation was already done. Even people existed before the churning happened, like I said in the first episode. But since Shri does not just symbolize money or wealth, for that matter, it symbolizes auspiciousness. And moon is a symbol of auspiciousness, that is light. So the moon also vanished. Sixth is very important because everything changed at this point. From the depths came poison.
Oh.
Not ordinary poison. The Hālāhala, capable of destroying all existence.
What's the other name for Hālāhala? I think there's another name.
Yes, that's Kalakuta.
Okay.
Panic spread. The Devas trembled and the Asuras stepped back. And then Lord Shiva appeared forward. Without hesitation, without fear, he took the poison. He held it in his throat, becoming Nilakantha. But what many of us miss in this process, a small detail, is that when Lord Shiva held the poison in his throat, Devi Parvati stepped in.
Wow.
She gently held his throat, ensuring that the poison did not go further down. Because of her, the poison stayed contained. It did not spread and it did not destroy.
What an amazing lady.
And then silence returned and the churning continued. Then finally appeared Lord Dhanvantari, holding the sacred Amrita Kalasha.
This Lord Dhanvantari is the Lord of medicine, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's the god of medicine.
One of the forms of Vishnu only.
Yes.
Okay.
The goal was now visible. The Amrita was visible, but not yet secured. Then emerged the majestic white horse, Uchchaishrava. He was the very symbol of speed, power, and royal energy. Now, if you check, like once the Amrita emerged, they didn't stop churning and they just continued, right?
That's what I'm curious about, yeah.
I will come to it at the last because that's a very subtle detail. Ninth emerged Airavata, Then this Airavata came, who is, as we all know, is the mighty elephant of Indra. The very symbol of strength, stability and authority. Because even Bhagavan says, Airavatam Gajendranam. So in all the elephants that exist, I am Airavata. Meaning, Airavata is the most powerful elephant. Or Uchchaishrava Samashwanam. All the Ashwas, I am Uchchaishrava. So Uchchaishrava is the most powerful horse in all of existence. So
Ashwa means horse, basically.
Yes.
Ashwamedha.
Ashwa. 10th. And finally, she appeared.
Wow.
Shriman Mahalakshmi. She was radiant beyond compare. She was lotus-seated, resplendent like compassion, taking visible form.
The absolutely wondrous lady.
Yes. She was not merely beauty. She was auspiciousness returning, grace returning, and Shri returning to all the worlds. It was like whatever was lost just came back in this instant.
Unbelievable.
And then came one of the most tender moments in all creation. When Mahalakshmi arose from the Kshira Sagara, there was no hesitation, no deliberation. And returning to the place that had always been her own, she moved towards Keshava, not as one making a choice, but as she returning to her eternal abode. Her place was never elsewhere. Her resting place was always his chest alone. That supreme, beautiful Keshava form where divine majesty and irresistible sweetness became one.
Wow, what a scene that would have been.
Yes, and our Puranas describe it in a very intimate manner. Tataspurat kantimati vikasi kamale sthita Shrir Devi payasastasmat utthita dhrita pankaja tam tushtaur muda yuktaha Shri suktena maharshayah Pashyatam sarvadevanam Gata vakshasthalam harehe Tato vakshasthalam prapya Devam vachanam abravit Naham tyajya sada deva Sadaiva deshakarini Vakshasthale nivatsyami Sarvasya jagatah priya. And how sweet are these words. Though worshipped by all worlds, Shri, Goddess Lakshmi, speaks to him, Keshava, with innocent tenderness. For though she is adored by all creation, her greatest joy is simply this, to remain forever upon his chest. He said, never let me apart from you. And that is in Sanskritam we call this as Arjavam. She is so powerful. She is like the Moola Prakriti, the very foundation of the nature. But still, when she emerges, she shows such innocence.
That's such cuteness. I mean, saying never let me be apart from you is such cuteness and so direct. And it's so amazing to hear, actually.
Yes, absolutely. And from that moment, Keshava became Madhava. Because where she dwells, there alone fullness becomes complete.
And these shlokas are absolutely wonderful to just hear. I mean, they are amazing to just hear.
Absolutely.
So what are the lessons, Damodara Priya?
Yeah, coming right at that. The lessons are extremely important. Like I said, Samudra Manthana gives us a bunch of lessons. Now, firstly, if we just look at this, why this order? Why not any order? Why not Uchchaisravas first? Why not any other order? Why this order specifically?
Yeah.
Because this is not a random sequence for that matter. It's a map, actually. Map of effort and distraction. Like I said, in the starting, I said this is a map of the human mind. And that's exactly what it is. Initially, what emerged first? If we look back, it was Surabhi or Kamadhenu. That symbolizes early comfort. When we begin effort, we first receive basic rewards. So we receive like slight stability, support. But that's not the real goal. Second emerged Varuni, who symbolizes temptation. Then comes pleasure, comfort, enjoyment, and distraction. Often when we are devoutly doing something, we often see others, having fun or something, and we get tempted. Not exactly distracted, but this is the initial stage, that is temptation. And many of us stop here.
Indeed.
Next is Kalpa Vriksha. For the people who continue, for them, this is a major obstacle. It's achievement. Things start working. You feel powerful, but this is where more of us quit the journey as well, because it's not yet the goal. You think that, okay, this much is enough. I've gotten small short-term returns. No. But when we look at the long-term goal, you're way far. Like, you've not even covered a major amount. So like I said, most of us quit here. And then even if you somehow come to the next stage, apsaras, distractions.
Yeah.
I call these three aspects that I'm going to tell further as three huge pitfalls for a person who wants to achieve success. And they are attraction, recognition, and external validation.
Yeah.
If you think that you're doing something right, no matter how many obstacles or difficulties we face, or anyone chiding us, scolding us for that matter, we should continue. We should look for our inner satisfaction.
Very true.
And like I said, these are the biggest traps. Next emerges Chandra, who symbolizes peace. Then comes calmness, a sense of control, because you've resisted somehow this temptation, or no, I would call it distraction. And then you feel calmness, a sense of control, but still not the final goal. You've not yet achieved it.
Right.
Next comes Hālāhala, the real test. It's like, I would say this like the peace before the storm. Everything is settled. Everything is going according to your plans. It's like you feel that you're in control. And then comes the biggest shocker. Because it's the hardest phase actually. The Hālāhala, like we all know, symbolizes toxicity, pain, and inner struggle. And here, most people give up. But look at Lord Shiva. Even here, he did not run away, panic, or hesitate. Instead, he acted with clarity, commitment, and complete faith in his role.
Right.
And that is why the poison did not destroy him, but it defined him.
True.
Even Goddess Parvati shows us something very important here. Even the greatest strength, like Shiva, needs grace to stabilize it.
What a beautiful way to put it.
Now,
Yeah.
like I said, Shiva represents absolute courage and action. But Parvati represents compassion, balance, and protection. They show power must be guided by care. Action must be supported by awareness. And in our lives, when we face toxicity, it's not just enough to handle it, because it might leave a very everlasting, permanent, the
Damage. Yeah.
or a mark on our lives. So we must also ensure that it does not enter deep into our being. It does not consume us.
Yeah.
Next is the Amrita, the true goal. But actually, is it the true goal? Is going to be revealed further. Only after all this comes Amrita. But what we understand even here, like I said, the journey does not stop actually here as well. Because power and status still continue. Even after the Amrita emerged, symbols of power and status like Uchchaishrava and Airavata still emerged. But they are not the final goal either. Because then what happened is, finally even Goddess Lakshmi returned. And Goddess Lakshmi also teaches us a very important lesson. Goddess Lakshmi does not go where there is ego, arrogance, and restlessness. But she resides where there is balance, beauty of character, and inner harmony.
So she is the final goal.
Yes.
Okay.
Because as we all know, prosperity follows where there is alignment
Yeah.
and not force. Even deeper, Lord Vishnu becomes Madhava only when Goddess Lakshmi chooses him.
Yeah.
As in, Keshava becomes Madhava.
That's so beautiful, that transformation.
When Shri joins him, divine fullness shines in its sweetest form. I'll give you an example for that matter. Consider a lamp, a diya. The lamp is complete. It's not broken. It's complete. And there's a lamp, and it has a batti,
Cotton wick.
cotton wick, and oil is filled. It's complete. It looks complete. But only when it's lighted, we are able to sense its sweetest form. Its best form. When the process is complete, grace comes back into life. And here there is a deeper mystery hidden beneath the surface that I talked about. At first glance, it seems the entire Samudra Manthana happened for one obvious reason. The Devas had lost their strength, they needed Amrita, and Lord Hari guided them and even took Kurma Avatara to support them. And yes, that is absolutely true. But if we pause and look more carefully, something astonishing begins to emerge. Because if the true purpose was only nectar, like I said, then why did the Manthana continue? Even after so many treasures had already risen. Surabhi had come, Varuni had emerged, Kalpavriksha had appeared, the moon had risen, even the poison had been overcome. And still the churning did not stop after the Amrita had appeared. Why? Because behind the visible purpose, there was a hidden divine purpose, a far deeper one, quietly invisible. Lord Hari was architecting the entire cosmic event. What appeared outwardly as a struggle to restore the Devas was inwardly a divine orchestration towards reunion. The ocean was being churned until Sri Hari was united with Sri herself, until Sri emerged from the Kshirasagara. And only then, when Lakshmi Devi arose and returned to his Vakshasthala, did the hidden longing of the Lord find fulfillment. And that's why the churn did not continue after Shri emerged. Thus we understand that the Samudra Manthana was not only about the Amrita, but it was also about reunion. To the Devas, the goal was nectar, but to Hari, the deeper longing was Shri. And what a subtle lesson it gives us. Because so often in life, we think events are unfolding for one visible reason. But beneath, what we don't see often is a deeper purpose may be quietly unfolding. What looks like struggle, delay, repeated effort may actually be preparing for something sacred that we do not yet understand. If I would like to concise all of these lessons in a nutshell, I would say, so when life churns your mind, do not fear the turbulence. Do not cling to the first treasure that appears. Do not lose heart when poison rises. Keep churning, keep trusting, and keep going deeper. Because sometimes the ocean is not being churned just to give you what you seek, but to bring forth what your soul truly needs.
Wow, this is really beautiful.
And perhaps and beyond all struggle, your own Shri is waiting to emerge.
True, amazing. So this is truly an amazingly well put episode, because Samudra Manthana we all knew kind of partially or fully, but the lessons here are truly relevant, and thank you for bringing those to light. As usual, it was an unbelievably eye-opening episode, and thank you for your company. We expect your continued company from the next episode onwards. Thank you, Damadra Priya. Shubham Bhuyat.
Jyoti, Jyoti, Antarjale Gahanam Pravaham Dharma Margam Anveshayami. O Jyoti Maya Jalamati Kramya Atmana Shantim Dehi Me. Jyoti. Vishnu